I think in this country, one of the primary problems that people have is a profound lack of respect for discipline and how important discipline is for your life.
So Joe Rogan just delivered a masterclass on why American society is failing, connecting personal discipline to our biggest policy disasters. He's identifying the root cause of everything from California's homelessness crisis to our cultural breakdown. This cuts deeper than typical political commentary. Let's break this down.
And discipline is associated with conservatism. And because of that, like a lot of people think that I don't think I'm anything. I think I have politically or ideologically, I have a lot of everything in me. I don't think I identify with one side or another. But if one thing that I agree with conservative people on, conservative people lend more towards the importance of discipline.
This intellectual honesty is exactly why millions trust his perspective. While politicians pander to bases, he's admitting conservatives get something fundamentally right about human nature. Discipline shouldn't be partisan. It's basic psychology. Self-control predicts life outcomes better than IQ or family income.
Hard work, discipline, don't complain, get things done, deal with the hand that you've been dealt with, and just sort it out and get to work. Don't cry. Don't look for other people to save you. They're not going to.
These values built America. The Protestant work ethic, frontier self-reliance, immigrant hustle. But we've shifted from pull yourself up to someone else should lift you up. This isn't cruelty, it's reality. Every successful person, from athletes to entrepreneurs, knows discipline beats talent.
And this is not something that's celebrated in society. It's thought of as a cruelty, that if you say that you need discipline, that you're not treating these people that are victims of circumstance with the proper respect or with the proper empathy.
We've created a victimhood culture where suggesting personal responsibility gets you canceled. Sociologist Bradley Campbell documented this shift from honor culture to dignity culture to victim culture. Now, admitting someone needs to change their behavior is considered violence against their identity.
And I think a certain amount of empathy is probably not so good for you at a certain point in time. There comes a point in time where you're letting people wallow in their bullshit and just make excuses for why they're not getting anything done.
Psychologists call this enabling. Real compassion requires boundaries. When parents never say no, kids become entitled adults. When society never enforces standards, dysfunction spreads. The kindest thing is often the hardest thing, holding people accountable to their potential.
In that sense, I think California is that is a giant part of what's wrong with California. What's wrong with California when it comes to crime? What's wrong with California? The way they address crime and the way they address homelessness and all these issues that they have, they don't put their foot down. At a certain point in time, you got to realize, like what Gad Saad calls suicidal empathy. A society can suffer from suicidal empathy. And at a certain point in time, you got to enforce rules and you got to make it so that people have to get their shit together.
California proves this perfectly. Prop 47 decriminalized theft under $950. Theft skyrocketed. San Francisco spends $600,000 per homeless person annually while the problem worsens. Portugal's drug decriminalization worked because they combined it with mandatory treatment. California gave compassion without consequences.
It's a bonkers situation where they've spent $24 billion. They cannot track it. They've tried to audit it. The government has vetoed these audits. And they have no idea where that $24 billion went, and yet homelessness went up.
Yeah.
But you've got a giant machine that is this homeless establishment, this homeless industrial complex.
$24 billion with zero accountability. That's larger than most countries' entire budgets. Meanwhile, executives at these nonprofits make six-figure salaries managing the crisis, not solving it. Classic perverse incentives. The bigger the problem grows, the more funding they receive.
I think that is really something that's missing from society. I think that I used to think it was silly when I was young, and then as I got older, I realized, oh, I went through that. I became a black belt, and I started fighting.
And you had a group of men telling you, you're at this level, we're going to treat you like that. And if you fall from grace, we're going to remind you right away.
Yeah.
And we just don't do that with young men. And we have a society now where young men act like young men till they're 45 or 50 or 60.
And sometimes never stop.
Modern psychology validates ancient wisdom. Psychologist Jordan Peterson showed how overcoming challenges builds confidence and competence. Without struggle, we stay weak. Japanese concept of ikigai, life purpose through meaningful difficulty. We've removed all friction and wonder why men feel purposeless.
I think there's a reason why most ancient cultures and a lot of ancient religions have these rites of passages where you are like now officially a man.
Yeah.
Officially, you're responsible. You have to think of yourself as a different thing now. Whereas if you leave it up to your own decision, men sort of dwindle into this perpetual state of childhood.
Anthropologists find these passages in virtually every successful civilization. Bar mitzvahs, vision quests, military service. Today's men hit 30 still playing video games in their childhood bedrooms. Extended adolescence creates anxiety, depression, and social dysfunction. Biology demands growth through challenge.
Whole feeling that you're responsible for these like very vulnerable little people that you love more than life itself. It just changes everything. It just kicks you into gear. But for some people, it doesn't. Some people that are so stuck in that perpetual childhood thing, they just wind up deciding it's too much of a drag and they get divorced.
Yeah.
And then they fuck up the kids.
Fatherhood forces immediate maturation. Suddenly, your comfort matters less than theirs. But we've normalized abandoning that responsibility. Single-parent households correlate with every negative outcome: crime, poverty, educational failure. Children need fathers to model discipline and delayed gratification.
I think the problem is these ideologies that people subscribe to, where you have a predetermined pattern of thinking that you're supposed to adopt.
Yes.
You're supposed to adopt these opinions. And some of them just don't fit. And that's how people get that's like on people on the left, they get pigeonholed into weird stuff that you can't really justify, like trans women in sports. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like we're being inclusive. Like, no, you're not.
Or loving the borders of Ukraine while hating our own border.
Yeah, fucking bonkers. Yeah, there's so many crazy things. There's so many crazy things that people just adopt that don't make any sense. And when you subscribe to an ideology, the problem is if you define yourself as this person, I am this. I am a hardcore right wing, blah blah, whatever it is. You immediately close the door to all the very productive and interesting things that the other side thinks.
Perfect example. Even liberal feminists know biological males have physical advantages, but ideology forces them to deny basic biology. Groupthink shuts down rational discussion. When you can't question obvious contradictions, you lose access to half the solutions available.
A lot of people are afraid of social ostracization too, so they're afraid of straying outside of the narrative, whatever side they're supposed to be on. And some groups are really good at making you feel like dog shit if you don't agree entirely with even things that don't even make any sense.
Yes.
And so that's why people go along with stuff that's illogical, like open borders or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They go along with things that's not in their best interest because they're scared. They're scared of being ostracized. They're scared of being cast out of the kingdom. They're scared of being excommunicated.
Social media amplified this tribal enforcement. One wrong opinion gets you fired, divorced, excommunicated. So people adopt positions that hurt their own communities rather than risk ostracism. This explains why working-class voters often support policies their educated neighbors know are destructive.